Hi, guys. First thing I want to say is I miss you all dearly. Second thing, I apologize for not getting 39 clues out last night. I was kind of waiting to have a meeting with the rest of my staff members to figure out where we were going with this distance learning stuff. So, parents, if you're listening, stay on here for a little bit. Students, if your parents aren't around, maybe grab them. Super important information coming up. So next week is going to begin the start of the rollout of distance learning, and it's going to be the first week, so obviously it's going to be a little bit shaky. Um, I would really like to continue using Google Classroom, and we are going to start using Google Classroom across all the grade levels, so you guys at home don't have to learn anything new. My kids who are pros at Google Classroom, feel free to teach your siblings how to use it. That would be super helpful. So here's my question for you. I'm going to create an Excel document, and it's going to be attached to the bottom in the comments, or I'll attach it to when I post this on Facebook or on Dojo. And I'd like you to sign up for 15-minute increments of time when you could come in Monday afternoon to come and grab your books out of your desk and clean out your locker. We need to take everything home that we think we might use at this time to make it worthwhile. Obviously the 15-minute rule, because we do need to all stay 6 feet away from each other. So I will link that schedule below, and if you can't come in Monday, I can obviously make up another time for you to come in. So what the distance learning is going to look like is we're only going to deliver, the really important content to get the students through the rest of the year. Whoa. Sorry about that. That being said, we'll focus mostly on math and reading, and we'll have pop-ins of social studies, and Miss Smock may pop in with some science. And we'll be using Pearson Realize, which I will provide you the link for every time, and K6 Sync Central, which is our math curriculum, and also throwing some Pathblazer in there just to mix some things up. It's really important that you're working hard, but we understand you still have other things going on in your life, and this is uncharted territory, so we need to make sure everyone understands that. We'll have more information after Monday. The teachers are having an in-staff school work day, and hopefully I'll continue providing information on Class Dojo and Google Classroom. Each day we'll be having a 30-minute meeting where we can all log in on our Chromebooks and talk to one another. So we can't, hang out in person, but we can at least hang out on the computer. And I'm hoping that's around 10 a.m. If that time does not work for you daily, it's not the end of the world if you miss a day. But if there's a better time that works for you, please let me know. All right, that's all the information I have for today. So let's delve into our 39 clues. Chapter 6. Dan had always wanted to ride in a police car, but not like this. His chest still hurt from the smoke. He sat in the back seat of a police car with Saladin on his lap and tried not to wheeze, but every breath was like inhaling sand. If you had just brought your inhaler, Amy chided, but he hated his inhaler. Made him feel like Darth Cahill or something. Besides, he hadn't had an attack in forever, and he didn't know they were going to get caught in a stupid fire. He couldn't believe the family mansion was gone. He'd woken up this morning sure that Amy and he would inherit the place. Now there was nothing left, just a smoking mountain of rubble. The police detectives hadn't given them many answers. It looked like arson, they said. The fire spread too quickly to be an accident. They said William McIntyre would be okay. Amazingly, no one else had been hurt. Dan had told the police about Alistair O leaving the mansion in a big hurry. He figured he might as well try to get the old creep in trouble. But Dan had said nothing about the 39 clues or the secret library or the strange guy with the binoculars. Who was the man in back? Amy whispered, like she had been thinking the same thing. She had Grace's jewelry box on her lap, and she was twisting her hair the way she always did when she was nervous. Don't know, Dan said. Alistair? He couldn't have been in two places at once. Mr. Holt? Mr. Holt's not that old, and he's a lot more buff. Aunt Beatrice dressed as a man? Personally, Dan liked this idea because Beatrice definitely had the evil factor going for her. After all, she'd just left them at the mansion without a second thought. But Amy rolled her eyes. He wasn't anybody we know, Dan. At least I'm pretty sure. But he was watching us like he wanted to see if we got out. Think he set fire to trap us. Merp, Saladin said. I agree with the cat, Dan said. After that man in black and Uncle Alistar, I think we can make a new resolution. Stay away from old guys. We'll have to be more careful about everybody. Amy lowered her voice even more. Dan, our mother was involved in the 39 clues. That writing. Yeah, but that's impossible. The contest just started. It was Mom's writing, I'm sure. She said, follow Franklin, first clue, Maze of Bones. We have to find out what that means. This is just the kind of mystery Mom would have loved. Dan knew he shouldn't have felt annoyed, but he hated that Amy remembered more about their parents than he did. He would never have recognized their mom's handwriting. He had no idea what kind of person she'd been. We lost the book, he grumbled. We kind of failed already, didn't we? Amy traced the monogram on top of Grace's jewelry box. Maybe not. I have an idea, but we're going to need an adult. Alistar was right about that. We'll never be able to travel without one. Travel, Dan said. Where are we going? Amy glanced at the cop. She leaned closer to Dan and whispered, First, we need to find a chaperone, and quickly. Aunt Beatrice is going to call social services soon. We need to get home, get our stuff, and get out. If the police find out we've been disowned, they'll take us to a foster home or something. We'll never be able to find the 39 clues. Dan hadn't thought about this. He didn't know much about foster homes, but he figured he didn't want to live in one. Would a foster home let him take his collection? Probably not. So how do we get an adult? He asked. Rent one? Amy twisted her hair into a noose. We need somebody who will let us do what we want without asking too many questions. Someone old enough to look like we're being chaperoned, but not strict enough that they'll try to stop us. Someone kind of pliable. What does pliable mean? Does pliable mean we can lie to them? Merp, Saladin said. Like that sounded good to him as long as he got fresh fish. The police car turned onto Melrose Street and pulled up in front of their weathered brownstone apartment building. This is the address, the cop said. She sounded bored and annoyed. Yes, Amy said. Yes, ma'am. You sure there's somebody home, your guardian or whatever? Nellie Gomez, Dan said. She's our au pair. His eyes widened. He looked at Amy. He could tell she was thinking the same thing. It was so obvious even a Holt could have seen it. Nellie, they said together. They got out of the police car with their cat and the jewelry box and raced up the front steps. Nellie was just where Dan figured she'd be, sat down on the sofa with her earbuds in, bobbing her head to whatever weird music she was listening to, while she punched text messages into her phone. A stack of cookbooks sat next to her on the couch. The top one read, Exotic Mandarin Cuisine. Dan let Saladin down to explore the apartment. Then he noticed the empty carton of Ben and Jerry's Cherry Garcia. His Cherry Garcia sitting on the coffee table. You don't eat someone's Ben and Jerry's, that's for sure. Hey, Dan protested. That was mine. Of course, Nellie didn't hear him. She kept jamming out and typing on her phone until Amy and Dan stood right over her. Nellie frowned like she was annoyed she had to actually work. She pulled out one earbud. Back already? Whoa, what happened? You're all grungy. We need to talk, Amy said. Nellie blinked, which was pretty cool to watch since her eyes were done in blue glitter shadow. She had a new nose ring shaped like a silver snake. Dan wondered why she wanted a snake curled inside her nostril. What do we need to talk about, kiddo? She asked. Amy looked like she wanted to hit Nellie with the jewelry box. Dan knew she hated it when Nellie called her kiddo, but she kept her voice polite. We've got a deal for you, a babysitting deal. Pays a lot of money. Nellie pulled out her other earbud. They had her attention now. 3 words always worked with Nellie. Guys, food, and money. She stood up. She was wearing her ripped British flag t-shirt, faded jeans, and plastic pink shoes. Her hair looked like it was a pile of wet straw, half black, half blonde. She folded her arms and looked down at Amy. Okay, what kind of deal? Dan was afraid Amy would freeze up, but she seemed to be keeping her nerves pretty well. Nellie wasn't as intimidated as some of the other au pairs they had. It's a trip, Amy said. You'd be our chaperone. Nellie frowned. Why isn't your aunt asking me about this? Oh, she broke her neck, Dan blurted out. Amy gave him a look like, shut up. Broke her neck? It's not serious, no, Dan said. It's just a little break. She's going to the hospital for a while, though, so she figured we'd better take a trip. We talked to our Uncle Alistar. He said we need an adult to go with us. The last part, at least, was true. Dan didn't know where he was going with this, but he plunged ahead. He figured if he could keep Nellie confused, she couldn't call him a liar. It's this thing our family does, he said, kind of like a scavenger hunt. We visit a bunch of places and have fun. What sort of places? Nellie asked. Oh, all kinds. Dan thought about the map in Grace's secret library. All those push pins. That's part of the fun. We don't know all the places at the beginning. We could go all over the world. Nellie's eyebrows shot up. You mean like for free? Amy nodded as if she were warming up to Dan's methods. Yeah, it could take months, traveling to exotic places where there's lots of food and guys. But you wouldn't need to be with us the whole time, just for like the adult stuff, like buying airline tickets and checking into hotels and stuff. You'd have a lot of time on your own. Yes, please, Dan thought. Nellie was okay, but the last thing he wanted was her to follow them around too closely. How are you going to pay for it? Nellie said suspiciously. Amy opened the jewelry box and dumped it on the table. The pearl bracelet, the diamond ring, and the emerald earrings glittered. Nellie's mouth dropped open. Oh my God, did you steal that? No, Amy said, it's from our grandmother. She wanted us to take it for our trip. She said so in her will. Dan felt impressed. That wasn't exactly a lie either. Nellie stared at the jewelry, then she picked up her phone and dialed. Dan tensed. He had visions of social services, whatever it was, swooping in. Guys with white coats and nets, maybe, taking them to a foster home. Hello? Nellie said into the phone. Yeah, Dad, listen, I've got a new job for the Cahills. Pause? Yeah, it's really good money, so I can't make it to dinner tonight like I promised. Nellie picked up the diamond ring, but Amy snatched it away. How long? We're traveling, so a few weeks, maybe months? She yanked the phone away from her ear. On the other end, her dad was yelling in rapid Spanish. Dad, Nellie said, no claro. But the fall semester didn't start for a month, and it's all like boring courses anyway. I could just take more hours in the spring and... Another burst of angry Spanish. Well, if you'd let me go to cooking school instead of stupid regular college. Her dad's yelling got slightly louder than a nuclear explosion. Que papa? Nellie yelled. Lo siento. You're breaking up. I'll call you when I get a better signal. Love ya. She hung up. He's fine with it, she announced. I'm in, kiddos. On Amy's orders, Dan was supposed to pack one bag. That meant clothes. But Dan wasn't interested in clothes. He looked around his room, trying to figure out what to take from his collection. His bedroom was already way too small for his stuff. Against one wall, there were tombstone rubbings. He'd have to roll them up or fold them to pack them, and that would ruin them. His closet was stacked with plastic bins, holding his card collection and coin portfolios. Too many to choose from. Under his bed were boxes full of old Civil War weapons, his cast, his autographed celebrity photos, and a ton of other stuff. He picked up his laptop, which he bought from the computer science teacher at school for $300. He'd have to have that, because he used it to find out stuff and make money. He knew the exact value of every trading card on the internet. He learned to sell his duplicate cards at school and in the local card shop for little more than he paid. Wasn't much, but he could make about $100 a month if he was lucky. And he was lucky. Unfortunately, he spent the money on rare stuff as fast as he could make it. He slipped the computer into his black duffel bag. Then he added 3 extra shirts, pants, underwear, a toothbrush, his inhaler, and finally, his passport. Their parents had gotten them passports right before they died when Dan was 4. Dan didn't remember why. They never used them. Grace had insisted on renewing them last year, which had seemed kind of silly to Dan at the time. Now, he wondered. He shoved the passport to the bottom of his bag. There was hardly any room left. No way he could fit even a tenth of his stuff. He dug under his mattress and brought out his photo album. It was a big white binder holding his most important collection, photos of his parents. There was only one. It was burned around the edges, the only photograph that had survived the fire. His mom and dad were standing on the summit of a mountain with their arms both around each other, smiling for the camera. They both wore Gore-Tex pants and thermal climbing pants with harnesses around their waists. Instead of helmets, they wore baseball caps so their eyes were hidden in the shadow. His dad, Arthur, was tall and tan with salt and pepper hair and a nice smile. Dad wondered if he would look like that when he got older. His mom, Hope, had reddish-brown hair like Amy's. She was a little younger than Dad, and Dad thought she was very pretty. Her hat was an Orioles cap. His dad's was a Red Sox. Dan wondered if that was random or if those were their favorite teams, and if they ever fought about which one was better. He didn't know. He didn't even know if they had green eyes like he did because the cap hid their faces. He wanted to collect other photos of them. He wanted to know where else they traveled and what they wore. He wanted to see a picture that had him in it, but there was nothing to collect. Everything from their old house had burned, and Grace always insisted she had no photographs of them, though Dan never understood why. He stared at the photo and got a sinking feeling in the pit of his stomach. He thought about the fire at Grace's mansion, the man in black, Mr. McIntyre lying on the pavement, Uncle Alistair driving away like a madman, and his mom's handwriting in that Benjamin Franklin book. What could be so important about a book? Dan knew the value of a lot of collectibles, but he had never heard of anything worth burning down a house. Grace must have known what she was doing, setting up this contest. She wouldn't have let him and Amy down. Dan told himself that over and over, trying to believe it. There was a knock on the door. He took the plastic sleeve with the photograph out of the album and slipped it in his own bag. He zipped it shut just as the door opened. "Hey, dweeb," Amy said, but she didn't really sound mean. "You almost done?" Yeah, I'm good." She'd taken a shower and changed clothes, back into her regular jeans and green t-shirt. She frowned at his full duffel bag and then looked at all the bins sitting in the closet. Dan guessed she could tell he hadn't sorted through them. "You could take a backpack too," she offered, "if that helps." Coming from Amy, it was a pretty nice thing to say. But Dan stared at his closet. Somehow he knew he wouldn't be coming back here ever again. "And how much money do you think we'll get for the jewelry?" Her hand went to her neck, and Dan realized that she was wearing Grace's jade necklace. I don't know." Dan understood why she looked guilty. He wasn't an expert at jewelry pieces, but he figured the necklace was one of the most expensive pieces in the box. If she kept it, they wouldn't get nearly as much. "They'll rip us off," he warned. "We don't have the time to do it right. And anyway, we're just kids. We'll have to take the jewelry to somebody who can give us cash without asking a lot of questions. We'll probably only get a few thousand, a fraction of what the stuff is worth. And we'll need transportation for 3 people," Amy said uncertainly, "and hotels and food." Dan took a deep breath. "I'm going to sell my cards and coins. There's a shop down at the square." "Dan, you've spent years collecting that stuff." "It'll double our money. The store will rip me off, but I can get 3,000 easy for all of it." Amy stared at him like you dropped in from outer space. "Dan, I think the smoke messed up your brain. Are you sure?" For some weird reason, he was. He wanted to go on this clue hunt more than he wanted his collection. He wanted to get back at whoever had burned down Grace's house. He wanted to find the secret of the 39 clues. Most of all, he wanted to finally use that stupid passport and make his parents proud. Maybe along the way, he'd find new photos for his album. "I'm sure," he said. Amy did something completely disgusting. She hugged him. "Gross," Dan protested. He pushed her away. Amy was smiling, but she had tears in her eyes. "Maybe you're not such a dweeb," she said. "Yeah, well, stop crying already and let's get out of..." "Wait, where are we going?" "Tonight, a hotel in town. Then tomorrow, I've got an idea about Ben Franklin." "But you don't have the book anymore." "I don't need the book for this. Mom's note said, 'Follow Franklin.'" Ben Franklin started as a printer here in Boston when he was a teenager working for his brother. "So we just look around town?" Amy shook her head. "That's what others are probably going to do. But we're going to follow where he went next, like follow his life. Benjamin Franklin didn't stay in Boston. When he was 17, he ran away from his brother's shop and started his own printing business in another city." "So we run away too? We follow Franklin?" "Exactly," Amy said. "Just hope nobody else has thought of that yet. We need to book 3 train tickets to Philadelphia." Philadelphia, Dan repeated. The only things he knew about Philadelphia were the Liberty Bell and the Phillies. So, when we get there, what do? Amy touched the jade necklace like it might protect her. I'm guessing a secret that could get us killed.